The next thing that we will do is add cross-referencing to a document. What I mean by this is, here is a research paper. Now if I scroll down, the author has added a reference to a subsection. We will show in section 4.1 this minimax game, etc. So the thing is, he has dynamically added a reference to a subsection somewhere else in the document. And that's what we would want to do as well. So coming to our .tex file, what I would now like to do is, in the last subsection that I have, I want to add a reference to my first section. There are two steps to achieve cross-referencing. The first is to give a label to a sectional unit. A label is just the name that you will be using in your cross-referencing. The second is to use a command to actually make the reference. So assign a name and then use the name in a command to actually make a reference. Which is the section that I am trying to make a reference to? That is my first section. So what I will do is I'll just go right after the section command and start a new command called label. To this, I will give a name that will be used for cross-referencing. Now, you can use your imagination to come up with an amazing name. However, note that cross-referencing is not just limited to sections, subsections, and subsections or chapters even. We will later in the lesson, we will see that we can use it for equations, figures, tables, and all of it. So when you have a very large document, you can run the risk of coming up with duplicate labels and all of it. So one standard practice of assigning label names is to follow this particular schematic. That is, since we are doing with a section, before I give the name of the section itself, I'll start with the prefix sec colon and then I'll just give a section name. So I usually just take the section title as is and just do something like this: my underscore first underscore section. Okay, or you could use camel case as well: my first section. So sec colon my first section. Note that you don't have to use the whole section title. If your title is way too big, you can like use combination of it. Only thing is, I'm just prefixing my desired name with sec to indicate that this is a section. Now later on when we have equations, we might use eq. If it is a figure, fig. If it's a table, tab. This limits name clashing across different entities. That's pretty much it. Note that this is not mandatory, but it is advised. We have now given the name to our section. Okay, so we're done with first step. The second step is to actually make the reference. To do this, I'll come down to the last line in my document. You can do it anywhere. I'm just choosing it to be done here. Let me just add in some dummy text. As discussed in section. At this point, I would like to use the name that I've given to my section. But what is the command that I use? It's \ref. To this, I will give as input to the name that I've given. Note that oleaf will give me the list of available names that can be used for referencing. I just selected the one that I have. Now compile. If we take a look at the last statement here, note that this ref command has added the section number that we are referring to. This kind of association is very dynamic. What I mean by that is, for instance, see, when we are writing a document, it is very common to go back and add a section before, after, and all of it. So for instance, I go ahead and add another section later on, just a dummy section. Okay, let me compile. The section number changes automatically because the section that we are referring to is no longer the first section in our document. So ref ensures that it dynamically fetches the section number. Let me just comment out the dummy section. Actually, I'll just go ahead and remove it. Yeah. This labeling thing can be done with respect to subsection, subsection as well as chapters. Feel free to try them around. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is before you make a reference, you need to first assign a name to a section, subsection, subsection or chapter that you're trying to reference to. Alright, we have now achieved to dynamically cross-reference sectional units in our documents. Now, I would like to take it one step further. Note that the ref command only adds the sectional units number. What I mean by this is, for instance, if I go to my subsection and I add a label, say subsection, my first S section. Okay. Now I just come down to this line and say adding a reference to. I'm just going to use the ref command and then use the name of my subsection. So you see, the ref command only gives us the sectional units number. So I have to explicitly mention subsection in order to identify what this particular number means. Because when you have equations, tables, figures, like what does that even mean? I therefore need to add what this number identifies, which is a subsection.